It was really. I'm glad that I know how scapegoats work in law, just in general, because otherwise we would have had to shut down the podcast after that whole Planters debacle.
There are several pending lawsuits. It is a problem.
Yeah, luckily Walter was able to take the fall for that, and we thank him for his sacrifice.
Yeah, he has 3 fathers, 3 polyamorous fathers who are all district court judges, which is really helpful. He can tank a lot of hits.
It really couldn't happen to a better guy.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a better guy in Utah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but while he's at court, we are recording the podcast. Hello, you are listening to 30-Minute Worlds here on your podcasting channel of choice. I'm Belvin.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Dan.
We all have names. And I'm talking more than usual because Walter isn't here. So I'm filling space. Acting
None
confident.
of us actually are able to fill space. We're all. It's like you ever seen The Dark Crystal? It's kind of like that, where there's one emperor that fills all the space, and that's Walter. But now that he's dead, Belvin has instead of naming a new emperor, he as chancellor just took the throne.
So this is untreaded ground for us. This is a Walter-free episode, which, might be good for our mental stability in the long run, but is nonetheless scary and terrifying.
It is. We're not even going to roll a die because Walter is the only one who likes dice because of his gambling addiction. This is how he gets it out. I'm the lore lad. I'm just saying it. I'm just declaring it.
It's just open and out to the world. I love it.
Okay.
And I'm proud. I'm the lore lad, and I am proud. And I need y'all's prompt words.
The prompt word is railway, Belvin.
Railway. Right. Okay.
My prompt is college.
Railway, college. What have y'all been doing in the 3-person devs? Do I have to have a word too?
Typically, we let the lore lad have their own word, and then you can just kind of spin it, and we'll riff it off of you.
Well, but sneaky fact, the hair. What was it called? Hair World.
Yes.
That came to Walt in a dream. That is his citation.
Well, that one only had 2 prompts, so I mean, if we're working off of precedent, like any good government should.
The third word is mole man.
Okay.
The greatest subway college in the world.
Mole man.
Mole man singular or mole man plural? This is important.
Mole man. Though that can mean mole man. These are mutable. These are all mutable words. So we have railway. We have school.
I said college, but school's fine.
College. And we have mole man.
Yeah, this is a higher institution of learning.
I think, because when I say school, every time I say school, I do immediately think of I don't know, it feels like some sort of My Little Pony sort of thing, or it feels like an anime, right, where everyone's in a high school or something. Well,
yeah, because our lives are soul crushing, and the last time we had fun was in high school.
Right. So I want to get to college where life becomes soul crushing. Starts to become soul crushing.
That was when I had fun. High school.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And we all went to high school together. That's a little bit of lore for y'all listeners.
little tidbit for you.
We all went to a high school where we learned how to be wizards.
Yeah, I'll cut that. I have to cut this out. So just because of the agreement that we have, from the wizarding world to the I don't know. Okay, why is that always a trope, right? Why is that always the trope that the wizarding world is like this sort of parallel existence? Is it just so that you could be like, ooh, maybe this is our world?
Yeah, it's the same appeal as Toy Story.
It's usually either to protect the magic or to protect the magic users.
Yeah.
I think it's the idea that it could be our world is just hidden. It's like Toy Story.
Right.
You watch Toy Story and you get really excited and you think, oh, my toy could love me.
And then you go out and you burn your toy with a magnifying glass in the sun.
Okay, Sid. So I guess this college, this railway college for mole men, has to be secret. You want to keep that trope?
You're a mole man, Harry.
Why is it secret?
Why is it secret?
Because the humans can't know about the network of mole men tunnels beneath the earth.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, mole men would be persecuted.
Yeah, if the humans knew about these mole men that could navigate like across borders, dig deep for resources, and create infrastructure, like they would be immediately enslaved. That's just how humans work.
Yeah, they would be used for the purposes of war and other such terrible exploitations.
At the very least, they'd be drawn into human shit. So, I mean, why bother, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at human shit. Like, read a newspaper. It's awful. Stay out of it.
Wait, what? You said newspaper? What is that? What's a newspaper?
You wouldn't want to read it, even if you could.
Okay. Hope it doesn't have still images. I only read newspapers where the images are moving.
Like I only watch GIFs.
Oh man, that's Sirius Black. He's a real. I mean, he looks cute, but I guess he's a criminal or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he's an ass murderer, but that's all right. Mole people are good.
I kind of want, if we're talking about railways, what if this world is a lot larger than our own human Earth?
Mm-hmm.
And what if the journeys that you would have to take on rail in these mole tunnels would take a really long time? So each journey doubles as like a college year or a college education.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like a semester at sea. Like you're going from place to place. So it's not just a college for railroad workers. This is a college that is transported or is mobile, rather, in this regard.
Yeah.
Huh.
So you would have geologists and biologists and engineers and people of culture. The liberal arts majors have their whole own cart separate from the rest of the train, and it just moves from place to place.
Yeah, and what if, I mean, I said that moment were secretive, but what if they're not? What if they, like, part of the reason they do their transportation plus education scheme is so they can, like, pop out at various places and interact with locals?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it could be that these mole people, the way that they make their living, basically, is they run these giant subterranean trains.
Oh, yeah, maybe the mole people are just natural scholars. Like, basically in this world, if you want to get educated, you go to the mole people and you go on their college tunnel, college trains.
Oh, so it's not necessarily, because like the way that a college year is broken up, you have like, I guess you could have like quarters or semesters or something. So maybe like all the places that they're going, like there's different people of like different years coming onto the train. I'm guessing, where I'm stuck is like where, if they're going to all these different places for education, what I'm thinking of is like people who like travel Europe to go look at the architecture. That kind of like where, for moles that are like focused around digging, is there like giant underground structures or something? Well, not giant, but like underground structures that they're going to like study as part of their education.
Well, I think it's cool if it's not all moles getting educated, just the mole people are running this enterprise. The mole people are in control of the college trains. And it's people of all different animal races, because I guess that is the construction we've assumed when we had mole people.
Yeah.
I don't know,
rabbit folk,
but
the mice boys.
Well, okay. I guess Walter was right. He was right about you and your animals.
I'm trying to get that Redwall money.
The work of one that consorts with beasts.
Well, what would be the most incongruous animal to have at a mole school, right?
A bird.
Like, I guess birds.
Birds,
birds.
Herons and stuff like that.
Oh, flightless birds, or not, herons aren't flightless, but it would actually it would suck to be on a train for, even if you could come up a lot, like it would suck to be on a train for years. If you
what if the trains are huge though? Like imagine like the Titanic's width. Like that's how wide these trains are. We're saying trains, but it's just like a structure on a rail. And these moles are great engineers, so maybe it's just like these kind of gargantuan. So like each car is kind of like a big hall with like lots of little offshoot rooms.
Ah, mega structures, my old friend. How you've come again. No, I kind of like that. It's got like sort of an Immortal Engines vibe, but good.
Yeah.
Don't at me.
Well, so I guess something that they could do if they have this gigantic structure that has all these I guess like shop classes would be in there too, like and this center of knowledge is like they could be going to different places. They don't necessarily have to make the same circuit every year, right? So they could be going to like other like ancient structures that have been falling into disrepair and like repairing them with all of the facilities that they have and like doing restorations and that kind of thing.
Ancient structures, my old world building friend. No, I like that. I like that a lot. Because what if this place was
not
originally
necessarily ancient structures? But
No, that makes sense.
This tool, yeah, it could have been an abandoned structure. It could have been fixed by the the people who wanted to do this, like to found a university.
Yeah, I mean, we could add a little post-apocalyptic flavor in that if shit went down on the surface, the mole people would be the ones who would be surviving and thriving and keeping all of this knowledge alive.
I like that a lot. Like, the idea that some group of learned mole people found this ancient... I guess at this point, it's not necessarily even a train. It might be like a giant, like a drill, like that it bores paths, and maybe it lays tracks.
You know, that would make a lot more sense for why it takes like an entire year to get somewhere. Because a year would actually be pretty fucking fast, depending on where you're trying to get it to.
Mm-hmm. Well, because new people can come and join the university because they're laying track behind them as they go ahead. So you can get back from where you were, or you can get up to it, but it takes a long time to go forward. But that would make sense as to why they're searching out these big structures, right? Because they're taking the quickest path to it that they can by boring new ones, basically. And they get to these structures, or like, I don't know if it's even necessarily just a structure, but just like a building or an old place of knowledge, like a library or a laboratory. And they restore it, and they stock it with staff, and they add it to this rail network, and then they move on.
Right, so if you're a student on this, you're not just learning, you're getting hands-on experience and also hands-on work on restoring the world.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Oh, so was there maybe there wasn't an event that maybe there wasn't a specific event that like cast the world down, or maybe there was, but like you don't necessarily need that for ancient for like civilizations to have come and gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the current civilizations to be based around structures that are aging, like like the Colosseum in Rome, right? Like there's so many structures that were built around that are older than us, that are like we kind of forgot how to repair, or like we don't care anymore, maybe. I mean, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right? Like they could fix that anytime they want.
Well, and I mean, that's a consequence, because basically what ends up happening is that there's nobody around who's willing to pay to maintain this stuff anymore, or because nobody's willing to pay to maintain it, nobody's willing to pay to protect it, people start cannibalizing it for other stuff, which is more or less what happened to the Colosseum and all the aqueducts. Then you have stuff like the pyramids, where just nobody's really sure what the fuck is going on with that. Because, I mean, like, we're closer to Cleopatra than she was to the people that built the pyramids. It's just so fucking old.
Yeah.
At least they wrote down.
It doesn't have to be like one event. There doesn't have to have been like nuclear war or something.
Right.
But I do like the idea of like things having gotten bad on the surface, like them losing a lot of culture and heritage and knowledge, and things starting to be rehabilitated by the scholarly practice of the mole people.
Because, well, they wouldn't really be making that much money from this, right? Like,
No, it's a scholarly pursuit.
Yeah.
Imagine whenever money that gets made is being put back into the university.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think the aim of this is the acquisition of wealth. Because, I mean, they're mole people. Like, they can get precious metals and stuff. Like, I don't think that's really an issue for them back in the mole cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they need food, if they need to buy, like, farmland or something to make food or something, they can just dig down and find a gold vein and just bleed it dry and have enough, and just make sure nobody knows that they did that, and then just slowly leak the gold back up to the surface over like decades.
Right. And if all the fields like botany and like all the sciences, all the like craftsmanship of like creating weapons and structures and stuff, if all of that has been decaying up above, then they would just be in a really privileged position.
Yeah.
And like I don't really think we need to flesh out like where they come from, but it could be something like they're just given, like they have a patron of some kind, like a noble that wants to further like knowledge just for even humanitarian reasons.
Elder Starnose.
Yes. You're really doubling down on that Red Bull. That's fine. That's
I see him though. Oh, he looks amazing.
He's the headmaster.
He's blind, of course.
Yeah.
What kind? I think it would. So I want to talk about what kinds of places they're going to and restoring. But I think if we're going to do that, it would be helpful to establish a rough tech level for when society sort of didn't collapse, but died like the slow death. Was it like around where we are? Was it the Industrial Revolution? Was it the early modern period? Like, what are we working with?
It's a great question. Part of me wants to set up sort of a magic system where these places were kind of sustained by by magic technologies.
So like magic tech. Oh, okay, because like that could be like ley lines and stuff like that.
Right, and maybe there was a point where wizards were persecuted, or there's a wizards' war or something that led to a lot of them dying out, which led to the decay, the malaise, the inability to actually make new stuff or really maintain existing structures.
Okay, that's flavorful. It fits into what we're doing here.
So you probably would have things like you'd probably have things still like Roman era of tech and all of that stuff stretching back, but then you would have like, I mean, of course you'd find like wizards' towers, right? It to be as fantasy about as possible, and you'd probably have like a sort of Dalaran kind of thing, like a floating city of mages.
Dalaran, yeah.
Yeah, Dalaran that just sort of crashed into the ground now.
Yeah, I think there would be wreckage of mage kingdoms gone by.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe they flew it off somewhere when there was very few people left and no one knows what happened to it, and like the moles are like, that's one of the things that the moles kind of want to find.
Yeah, well, maybe, or maybe the moles kind of had developed their own tech and their own society away from the magic, and that's part of why, not just being underground, but not being dependent on magic, that they're doing just fine when things collapse in the wizard world.
And that's why they can be at the forefront of the movement to restore things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, because when I imagine the college, I guess is what we're calling it. When I imagine the college going around, it's like Steam Boy, like it is buzzing and popping and chugging along. Like there's no magic going on at all. It's all mechanics. Maybe Steam. I guess Steam's fun, but like
nobody wants to go out there and say steampunk and slap gears on it. But the steam engines seem like it's cool. It makes sense.
Yeah, and there could be some interesting tension where they have some young mages on board. Like that's one of the lines of study that they're helping resuscitate. But there's just lots of deep-seated skepticism among the mole people about the safety of magic and the necessity of magic, dangers of magic.
I imagine they'd have an aversion to mages being in any sort of like position of political power or like even leadership to a degree.
Yeah, well, there would be magic teachers, I bet, and those would be interesting figures because those would be people who like survived the Wizard Wars, I guess. Like maybe they kept their heads down, or they were rebels, or maybe a few of them like fled underground for safety. So
yeah,
they're kind of like
they took refuge with the mole people.
Yeah, and they're kind of like the outcasts of Tunnel Academy.
And I'm sure that there's a bunch of little outcroppings of mages or like individuals that were like hedge witches out in the middle of nowhere, or like basically like a monastery that just never got involved in anything. It like comes out at the other side of the wizard war. Like, what happened?
I could also see the magic energies, like just ley lines and stuff, being altered by all the wizard wars. So maybe their magic's waning. They have to find new ways of practicing it or getting that power.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah. It could be that those wizards that do, maybe there is a disdain for the sort of technology from them as well, but they've recognized that, especially for restoring the ley lines and for the potential of integrating magic with engineering and technology, throwing in with this academic endeavor is basically the best chance they've got to ever make magic be relevant again, because it's just dying.
Right. Can all of the surface people be bird people?
I mean, not all of them, right? Like,
but what if all of them are bird people?
I don't think they should all be bird people, but I do think there should be a flying city of bird people that has a rival institution of higher learning.
Well, we can think about an entire planet, right? Or an entire world. If we're talking about this much technology, I think planet's a good way to go. But not like weird, plain nonsense, but just a big old planet that the nation that sort of like the moles are based out of, like, or where they got their start, I guess. Those are bird people in that nation, like. But there's other nations that are like representations of other animals.
What are the nations? So there's the bird nations of the sky, and maybe there's some bird wizards that have the closest thing to a rival university. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
There could be like a great swamp region that's reptiles and amphibians.
Yes.
A frog town. No, frogs can't use magic.
Definitely frogs and crocodiles, and that's it.
They practice dark magic. They're called war crocs.
Oh my god. Oh, all of them have scars and shit.
They got magic tattoos.
The war crocs of the swamp.
So are humans in this at all? Or, because the one way I could see them that we could do if we wanted to do it flavorful is that they are, because this is basically like a post-apocalyptic or post-apocalypse. There's a term for the trope, but like the apocalypse is not actively happening in any way. Like It was a slow one and it's done. But it could be that itself was not the first time something like this has happened. Like, what if humans did control the world way, way before animal people? And it's their influence from like their magical experiments that have led animals to gain sentience and to evolve faster, basically.
Maybe that's the history. A lot of the history that's being studied is not just the development and wane of the animal kingdoms, that too much magic, wizard wars, etc. But when you go way back, there were magicians who had familiars, and they did more and more with these familiars.
Yes.
And that's where all these races of animal people, how they're justified that wizards did it.
Wizards! Absolutely no sense of right and wrong.
Good, we created the ultimate a wizard did it world.
Well, it would be really weird to start probing through these more and more ancient histories, and like you start to find like, what are these skinless apes? Like, they don't exist anymore. We've never seen them.
Yeah, why is this image of like such a small mole? Is this a baby mole? Why is he in a cage?
It's a baby mole. He's so skinny. It's so bizarre.
They finally find like a fully intact human skeleton, and the anatomy department is just what is this? We've never seen, like, it's sort of an ape, but it's definitely not an ape.
Oh my god! You know how the way that archaeologists look at dinosaurs?
Yeah, they like kind of makeup features and only recently realized they had feathers. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like there's a tendency to like shrink wrap the skeleton in like flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So like you could take like if you took an elephant skeleton, it would be like this skinny, like gross like creature, when in reality elephants are like humongous and like full of fat. So like you'd have like humans that were like shrink wrapped with skin is how they would try to figure out the anatomy. But it doesn't match up with like as they go further and further back and actually find like art, they realize that's not true or something.
Yeah, what if one of the cars, I guess we're calling them cars, you need the right name for like these individual college shoots.
Colleges
rails.
have schools, right?
Yeah, so one of the schools is an archaeology school, and they have like all these models set up of what they thought like ancient humans, ancient animals looked like.
Yeah.
There's like a little diorama of like a shopping center or something like that. It's just like, and this is where they did their blood sacrifices.
Okay, so we've established the history department, the archaeology department. It'd be fun to just go through like some different majors and like figure out what their cars look like.
Well, the biggest major of the school, I guess, would be, well, the most prestigious one would be like conductor or something, right?
The people that that maintain and like drive the actual university.
Right. Conductor, actually, no, conductor is an elected position. It's not. So that's basically like going into politics. So, but like the most like difficult major would be like the engineering major, essentially. But what would they call it?
I think you do something like generically archaeotechnology or something like that. Like archaeotechnology. Because what if it's like they collaborate very closely with the archaeology department because they're trying to recover a lot of ancient technology?
Yeah.
Right, and you don't want to like build a drill that's going to just demolish like an entire like buried civilization before you get there. Like you don't want to have your engineers not care about archaeology when you've got your archaeological device is engineered, right?
Right, and I think a lot of the work of the engineers is going to be like going to different city-states and like basically completely revamping the systems they had. Like, what if there is a city, let's say it belongs to the salamander people, and it used to be that they had this shuttle that was powered by magic that went around the city.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it has to be replaced with an actual shuttle system, with like a mechanical shuttle system. So a lot of the process is taking like infrastructure that was magic based and replacing it with steampunk.
So you'd have like a retrofitting, like an entire major just based around retrofitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the away teams basically for the university.
Yeah. I mean, that would be, you'd need to do that everywhere. You would need to, because like, you imagine you find like Magic City, like any kinds of transportation, you'd have to, like they have this stupid ass gigantic elevator that's the only way to get into the city, and it like the ley lines don't exist there anymore. Like it doesn't work. Like you've got to just, I don't know, throw some gears on it, just fix it.
And what if there's also like there could be a major equivalent that is something like a mix between communications, political science, and like civic, like city planning? Like what they do is they go out and they are like the first contact. They establish, we're not here to fight you. We're not interested in that. We don't want to take your stuff. And they're like, we're going to show you, like, here's what our engineering people are going to do to fix up your more advanced stuff. But we're going to show you how to like maintain a sewer system or build roads that don't just fall apart in a decade. How to grow crops sustainably, stuff like that.
Yeah, and if the listeners at home are wondering why these aren't just jobs, like why these people aren't being like educated to do this and then go off and doing this like full time, it's sort of maybe the agenda of the mole people to be like educating in all things, because so much has been lost to the wizard wars.
Yeah, the
terms of
goal is like
knowledge.
sustainability here. They're like they don't want to just fix their problems and then go away. They want to teach them to like that it won't all just go to shit when they leave too.
Yeah, and they don't really want people to be motivated by economics, by like doing this kind of work for pay. So it's like it's just an extreme education model everywhere.
Yeah, because I mean, you could frame it almost like they saw that it was basically greed that led the wizards to fight one another and muck everything up in the first place.
Right. And the mole people are, as we all know, communists.
So they've got to have a whole school, like a whole car that's for like politics and diplomats and like people like their diplomats have to know a lot of languages because they need to be able to talk to all of the people of the world.
Right, they have to know what it means when a salamander person sticks out his tongue. They have to know what it means when a frog person jumps in the middle of talking. It's
or
all
that when
deeply nuanced.
It's like
when a crocodile grabs you and rolls, it's just trying to make friends.
It's like a linguistic anthropologist. And I like the idea too that like because as they're traveling, like they're going to have people join them too. Like right. Some salamanders that are going to be like, okay, well we want to throw in with you guys, and we know a bit about what is in that direction. Because like by helping out the local communities that they go to, they also get leads on ruins they can investigate and other communities that could use their help.
Right, and sometimes they recruit actual new teachers.
Yeah. I imagine it would start as basically all molemen and then a couple of maybe like the bird people that this started in who are more magic users, but I imagine it would end up being quite diverse.
There probably is a whole school, like a whole car for like, or there probably, I don't know, maybe there probably isn't because they wouldn't have a whole car for magic. There's got to be a place for like the overflow. Like they have to have a place to hold magic classes because it's the knowledge that like it's knowledge and they still want to spread it.
Well,
but
maybe
like,
they only
really
study magic academically, and if you want to actually learn magic, which they don't much approve of, you have to go to bird school.
Right. It's like the main library car. Like every individual college has their own library.
Oh, there is a giant library car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to have that.
And maybe the library car like docks with a lot of the other cars sometimes. So then there needs to be like intense study. Maybe that's like part of the school year is that the library car docks with your car and you just
that would be really nice if the they would probably everybody would complain if if all of the exams happened at the same time for all the colleges because the people in the back are like 4 or 5 entire cars away from the library. It's like, what the fuck? Come on, guys. Like, and it's crowded. Yeah. So they'd have like staggered exams and yeah, that's cool.
Is
it weird that I want to study on this college train?
No, this is lit in terrible fucked up by Wizards World. This is cool as hell.
Oh yeah, I guess what's the worst shit that they'd have to deal with going through?
Well, I would think that some areas would just be like really magically corrupted when like great wizards clashed. It just hangs in the air. Like maybe like some of the air is just like electrified and it's like really dangerous to go into.
There's like magical anomalies and shit that are hostile to anything that enters them.
Maybe that's the last year everyone goes through is figuring out, like everyone gets on like one car that is meant to go into these magic damaged areas. And you've got to stay grounded, otherwise like the magic in the air will like soak into your veins or something. Yeah, everyone has equipment. There's like all kinds of different ways of dealing with magic. The idea being that like these magic anomalies can be anywhere and there are like pockets of them all around. So you really have to get a good education in dealing with magic anomalies.
I imagine that is probably among the most dangerous things that they have to do in general. I mean, like otherwise,
reminds me of Stalker.
It is very stalkerish, the anomalies.
Yeah,
and I mean, there would always probably be some people that are after, like, because there's a lot of technology and knowledge and such on the train. So maybe there is like a like a thieves guild writ large or something like that that's trying to get information from them that from the old world, and then there's a handful of conspiring wizards that would like to loot the magical tomes from said train.
Yes.
What's funny actually is, so you've got like a thieves guild that like, what if there's a thieves guild that want to steal the knowledge and sell it, and instead they just incorporate this band of thieves into the train?
Yeah, that's always the MO. Whenever someone like comes in and attacks a train or something, they try to like get them to teach a class.
Friendship.
It's like, give us all you've got. It's like, well, this knowledge is going to take a long time for you to understand. You can, the enrollment is free if you're just willing to, help us out in the area.
Yeah, it's also like, oh, you snuck into this car without anyone noticing. You got past this system. Wow, can you teach us how to do that?
Yeah, hang on, let me get my pen and paper. I'm gonna write this down.
Yeah, because like some areas that they go to, like some nations probably don't want anything to fucking deal with them. Like they're just like, especially like you go into like some sort of fascist government that really doesn't want they want to control the information. So if they're all about like spreading information and peace, love, and harmony for all the people on Earth or whatever this planet's called, then
not Earth.
That is going to get them attacked. Not Earth. Clearly not Earth. Unless
they blew it all up.
Well, I would think a state like that would want to take the resources that they have and take just the train itself and use it as a weapon, basically.
Ooh, it'd be interesting if so far malevolent forces had managed to hijack one of the trains. And so there's one train boring around down there that you really have to watch out for. Because it's like separatist wizards and warlock crocs trying to...
Oh, I like that. Like maybe like some of the mole crew on that one went rogue for some reason, or they were corrupted by said conniving wizards.
Mm-hmm. So as a student, you know that out there's always potential for being docked by this rogue train.
Oh, that's terrible. Like you hear there's just a normal everyday occurrence of like just the earth settling around you, and it like makes some noises, and you realize that's not what that is. That's actually vibrating, and like the rails are vibrating because you're being bared down upon by like a bunch of like, and it's like it's a terrifying train, right? It's a terrifying train car because all the sort of retrofitting that the moles try to do to get old places working without magic, these wizards are doing the opposite. They're like taking that technology and they're like using magic to make it work. So like a combustion engine that uses magic would probably be incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, and I imagine the whole that whole train car is just full of magical energy. They're just gorging on it. So that
you don't even really want to fight them, because if you like, I don't know, blow them up or something, then the like your way back or your way forward is going to be completely corrupted.
Right, it's almost like they are a walking magic bomb. So that's why that hasn't been dealt with yet, really.
It's exactly the kind of thing that the wizards were doing that caused everything to go to shit in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Well, we've gone over 30 minutes, like we always do.
If True Cuts is the most anime of our settings, this is the one I think that is the most like a children's cartoon or something like that. Like one of those ones from like the 90s or like the late 80s that they got a bunch of crap past the radar.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I do imagine this is just Steam Boy with animals. Is the sort of art style that I'm been picturing in my mind.
Well, when you have like a special academy, that's always going to be that good youth fiction, right?
The youth love to go to school.
The youth
and
love
the adults
school.
hate it.
They love
and
school.
they love broccoli, and it's delicious and it's good for you. So
The kids are in their schools and they're reading Redwall, and they're like, "Man, if only, if only this were my life.
If only I was a cool mouse with a sword."
They're reading the moles go like, "Herm, hello, hi here," and they're like, "Oh, they should be the center of a setting."
Wait, could you say that again? Because
let me get a
we need to
herm.
Oh, hello there, here. What?
Well,
The only thing I want that we don't have are like better names for things.
right.
Well, names are hard.
Names are hard on the fly. I like to think on my names. But
This is the other thing, though, is like you like to have better names for things, but really, if there's not that many colleges, then you can just kind of call something the college, right?
yes.
Like the two oldest, or I guess the oldest cemetery in the United States is in Massachusetts, and I'm pretty sure it was just called like Old Cemetery. Like that's what it was called. It wasn't exactly that. It was like Old Burial Point or Old Burial Place. It's like, okay, cool. That's a good name.
All the kids are making out of the Old Burial Point.
Hey, get out of there! Get off of the first dead person in the first dead white person in Massachusetts grave.
Like
Get
Queen
off
Mary's College.
Get off!
Just attribute it to a person.
Well,
The setting name is it's My Train Academia is the name of the setting. It's fine.
My train.
My Train Academia. God damn it. My Mole Academia.
My Little Mole can't be this academic.
Well, folks, that's our show. I guess we did it. If you like this episode, you can subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice to get new episodes every other Wednesday. Actually, every Wednesday. Oh man, this is old. What has Walter been reading? We're all coming apart at the seams. I'm sorry. And if you're feeling really saucy, you can go ahead and write us a 5-star review and share us with all your world-building friends. Our art is courtesy of the talented and wonderful Shell Tor at Jovial Paradox on Twitter, and you can tweet at us at LoreLads or send us spirited hate mail at 30minuteworlds@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and happy world building.